Assalamu alaikum. Today in this video we will discuss the basic anatomy of the ear. If we consider a cross-section transverse view of the ear, we come to know that outer one-third is cartilaginous while the inner two-third is bony, and it ends on a very specific membrane which is called the tympanic membrane. This is a very good view of the tympanic membrane, showing some parts which are present actually in the middle ear, but they are attached to the tympanic membrane, and we can feel and also we can see these parts. For example, this is the handle of the malleus. I will discuss these bones, malleus incus and stapes, which are the basically present in the middle ear. I will discuss all these bones later on, but here you can see they are attached to the tympanic membrane. We are looking the tympanic membrane from the external to the internal side, that is from the auditory meatus auditory canal. You can have a view of the tympanic membrane in which the handle of the malleus can be seen, and also the lateral process of malleus is and can be seen easily. You can have a look of the long limb of the incus also. This is a better view of the whole of the ear, including the external and middle and internal parts. If we look from the external side, this is the outermost pinna or external ear having auditory canal going inside. This is the auditory canal which ends on the tympanic membrane. To the tympanic membrane, these small bones, 3 in number, that are the malleus, incus and stapes, they are present, and the foot of the stapes is attached to the oval window from where the internal ear starts. This you can see that we have an ear on each side of our head, and noise is collected by the outer ear or pinna. You can see from here the sound waves, they are coming and they strike firstly the tympanic membrane. Here you have the attached 3 bones. From the outer side up to the tympanic membrane, this is the outer ear or the external ear. From the tympanic membrane up to the foot of the stapes, it is the middle ear, and from there onward we have the internal ear. In the middle ear, we have a very important structure. You can see that these 3 bones, they are attached with each other, and we have this very important structure. This is the eustachian tube. What is this and what is its function? It is a canal that connects the middle ear to the nasopharynx, which consists of the upper throat and the back of the nasal cavity. It controls the pressure within the middle ear, making it equal with the air pressure outside the body, and these tubes normally stay closed most of the time anyway. Only when you actively swallow, speak or chew do they open up. Conditions such as nasal congestion, infection of the ear or sinus, or allergies may cause symptoms such as discomfort, dizziness, or ringing in the ear and lead to the eustachian tube problems. These causes can often be treated with decongestant medication or antibiotics, but in severe cases, surgery may be necessary. So this is the structure you can see here, and I will show you the this opening in the middle ear and its other end open in the nasopharynx. I will show you this diagram also. You can see the opening of the eustachian tube in the nasopharynx. This is the cause, this is the reason when you have um, any nasal problem, congestion, or you can have the congestion of the eustachian tube and blocking of the ear also. Same with the when you are going to fly with an aeroplane, you can have this same problem of the blocking of the ear, and it can be removed easily by chewing the chewing gum, so that because of the pressure changes in the middle ear. So you can well this is the you can well imagine that this is the eustachian tube having its one end in the middle ear cavity and the other end in the nasopharynx. This is the, and you can see this one, the external pressure is affecting the tympanic membrane, also equalized pressure on the tympanic membrane. That's the reason when you have any nasal problem, your ear also gets blocked. So increase in external pressure, increase pressure on the tympanic membrane, or pressurization of the middle ear by the eustachian tube. This can also affect the pressure over the tympanic membrane. So this is a very important structure in the middle ear cavity. Otherwise, the middle ear, that is a very tight cavity, so that one end of the malleus is attached to the tympanic membrane here, and these three small bones, they are acting as lever, the foot of the stapes that is attached to the internal ear. In the internal ear, we have three semicircular canals with this snake-like structure, which is called the cochlea. Three semicircular canals, they are mainly responsible for the balancing of the body, and you have already studied it with the cerebellum, how they are going to control the body equilibrium with the cerebellum. Regarding the ear, we have just this cochlear part, which is important for the hearing purpose. This is a snail-like structure. Its internal structure will be discussed later on, and after that the nerve fibers which are initiated here from the receptors which are present in the cochlear part of the internal ear, they send impulses through the cochlear part of the vestibulocochlear nerve to the brain. You can see from this diagram. This yellow is the hearing nerve or the cochlear part of the vestibulocochlear nerve sending impulses to the heart center. So basically we have the external ear, middle ear and internal ear. From this huge area, the sound waves, they are coming to strike the tympanic membrane. Then three small bones, they move in such a way that the foot of the stapes is pushed inward, so that the fluid present in the internal ear in the cochlear part, that is moved, and so that the change produce, the receptors, they are stimulated and the nerve is nerve impulse is conducted to the high center. I want to show one more diagram. This one, you can see the foot of the step is that is attached to the oval window, while at the other end we have the round window. Once the sound waves strike here to the tympanic membrane, these three ossicles they move fluid present in the cochlear part that is that is stimulated so that it moves inward and round window moves outward. The movement of the fluid which is present here that initiates the impulse which is conducted through the cochlear part of the vestibulocochlear nerve. This is the whole story, and we will discuss this whole story in detail one by one. Coming to the same thing, you can have this better animation, how the sound waves they are coming to strike the tympanic membrane and then going to the brain. One more animation related to the same process. You must remember that the articulation of the incus with the stapes causes the stapes to push forward on the oval window and on the cochlear fluid on the other side of the window every time the tympanic membrane moves inward, and to pull backward on the fluid every time the malleus moves outward. This is the basic theory about how the middle ear ossicles or small bones they are serving. A very close view of the function of the bones, how they are acting attached to the tympanic membrane, moving, and the other end is attached to the internal ear. A very important thing about the middle ear, that impedance matching, for which you can have the SCQ also. What is that one? As you can see from this also, that the so much large surface area of the tympanic membrane is conducting sound waves from the external source, then coming to the middle ear and focusing on a very small area of the oval window. How this happens? This is a mystery, and this is called the impedance matching. That is, the middle ear transfers the incoming vibration from the comparatively large low impedance tympanic membrane to much smaller high impedance oval window. This is a very important thing because of this the external ear, which is receiving the voice sound waves from a huge area, it is going to focus on the tympanic membrane firstly and then a very small area of the oval window, and this becomes possible only because of the presence of the three ossicles. So the ossicle, so because of the impedance matching, the ossicles reduces the distance between the ossicles but increases the force of movement. Because of size difference, the force exerted is a total of 22x on the fluid of the cochlea. Without the tympanic membrane and ossicles, the sound waves would still pass through to the cochlea but at a greatly reduced sensitivity. This is the very important point. To have a very fine sound perception, you need this impedance matching by the ossicular system, so that from the huge area the sound waves they are coming to the smaller, very smaller area of the oval window. This is a comparison of the tympanic membrane and the area of the oval window. You can see a huge area of the tympanic membrane, and this is just for the comparison, that is showing no comparison of this. A huge this one, while a very small at this end. If you have a better knowledge of the physics, you can come to know that these ossicles, they are acting as a lever system, so that the arm of the lever, through that the sound waves, they are conducted to the smaller area here. This is the fulcrum and the malleus and incus that is present here, and coming to the foot of the stapes, which is attached to the oval window. So this is a diagram. If you have a better knowledge in the physics, you can better understand this thing, that how the impedance matching by the oscillator system take place. This is a very nice view through which you can understand how they are working ossicles. The tympanic membrane, which when the sound waves strike to the tympanic membrane, these three ossicles, they come into motion. They move in such a way that they move the fluid inward every time, and from the other end, that is the round window, the fluid move externally smaller, and the change which is produced in this fluid, that is the basic theory which is going to conduct, which is going to stimulate the receptors present here and conduct the sound waves to the brain. This is just one more animation. Attenuation reflex, it is a kind of a reflex, and it is also very important. In this reflex, what happens when loud sounds are transmitted through the ossicular system and from there into the CNS, a reflex occurs after a latent period of only 40 to 80 milliseconds to cause contraction of the stapedius muscle and also to the tensor tympani muscle. What happens? The tensor tympani muscle pulls the handle of the malleus inward, while the stapes muscle pulls the stapes outward. These two forces oppose each other and thereby cause the entire ossicular system to develop increased rigidity. It is just same as you beat the drum. On both sides of the drum, you have a very tight sheet which is tightened through the ropes which are present over the drum, and every time you tighten these ropes also to have a better sound. When these two external sheets present over the two sides of the drum, they are much more tightened, the sound becomes much more high, so and very much fine as compared to the if these become loose, so that you cannot perceive fine sounds. So to have a very fine perception, this whole structure of the drum, it should have tight and rigid surfaces on both sides. Because of this, the sound perception become better. So this in the human being, in the human ear, this is the attenuation reflex through which we can have which can reduce the intensity of the lower frequency sound transmission by 30 to 40 decibel, and have a very important and have some very important functions. That is, number one, to protect the cochlea from damaging vibrations, mask low frequency sound in loud environment, and also decrease a person's hearing sensitivity to his or her own speech. Otherwise, each and every time you will listen your own voice more as compared to the surroundings. Other people listen your voice comparatively at low voice, low pitch, and you will listen your voice more as compared to the other people. So because of this attenuation reflex, it becomes possible that a specific range below and above that range you cannot listen, and very specific range of the sound wave that can be perceived. You must remember that the whole structure of the ear, except the external ear, which I have told you the cartilaginous, the other part is the bony. So whenever the sound waves they strike these parts, they are also stimulating the bony part, and all as the whole of the bone, that is the skull, is continuous. So any part of the skull which is stimulated, that can be conveyed. Because of the inner ear, the cochlea is embedded in a bony cavity in the temporal bone, which is called the bony labyrinth. Vibration of the entire skull can cause fluid vibration in the cochlea itself. So under appropriate conditions, a tuning fork or any other instrument like that, if we put this tuning fork over any bony protuberance of the skull, especially as you do in the lab, in the over the Mestad process, what happens? It causes the person to hear the sound. But you must remember that air conduction is better than bone conduction. But if in any case, if there is any obstruction to the air conduction, leading to the deafness, the bone conduction can perceive and can have some result. We will discuss this whole while discussing the topic of the hearing loss. Now comes the next part, that is the internal ear, and we are concerned mainly to the cochlear part. Semicircular canals, they have important role for the balancing of the body. So for the hearing process, we will discuss the cochlea, which have important three structures. From the external view, you can see a snake-like structure. If you open this snake-like structure, you find some tubes present in this, which are continuous throughout the length of the cochlea. They are arranged so much that they are making some compartments. In between, they have very thin membrane. These compartments, they are scala vestibuli, scala media, and the scala tympani. These two compartments, that is the scala vestibuli and scala media, they are separated with each other via the vestibular membrane, while the scala media and the scala tympani, that are separated with each other through the basilar membrane. This is the basilar membrane, which have the main receptors present for the hearing on that, and because of the stimulation of these receptors, the nerve impulse is generated. The scala media is very important regarding the fluid, as it has a very specific composition and have important role in the generation of the nerve impulse, and that will be discussed in the next video. This is a better view of the three compartments of the cochlea, showing a better detailed view of this organ or corti, which are the receptors of hearing present on the basilar membrane, and we can have the scala media. Close to that, we have the stria vascularis. This is the congested part of the blood vessels highly congested and secreting all the times a very specific fluid, because of which the fluid present in the scala media have different composition as compared to the fluid present in the scala vestibuli and the scala tympani. From the receptive sites, from the receptors which are present on the basilar membrane, which is called the organelle corti, these receptors, they are generating impulses, and through you can see the cochlear part of the vestibulocochlear nerve. This is the spiral ganglion here, and from there the impulse is going to the high centers. So this is all about the basic structure, basic anatomy of the ear, how the organ of Corti that is stimulated, how the nerve impulse is generated. We will discuss all this in the next video. So thank you and Allah Hafiz.